In March 2026, one tiny plastic cover on your license plate can cost you $1,000 in California. And the wild part? Most drivers bought it thinking it was protection, not a ticket magnet. If your plate looks even slightly tinted or blurry, that's enough to catch an officer's eye. But that's just rule number one. There's a newer rule that can nail you even when you're doing everything right. If you pass any stopped vehicle with hazard lights, you may be required to slow down and move over. Miss it for 3 seconds, and that simple drive becomes a stop. Tonight, I'm breaking down 10 new rules California police are watching first, plus the sneaky one most people violate without realizing. I'll show you what to look for, how tickets are being triggered, and the quick habits that keep you off the shoulder with flashing lights behind you. Ready right now? Number 1. Slow down, move over. This one sounds like common sense, until you realize how many drivers are breaking it every single day without meaning to. In California, it's no longer just about police cars, ambulances, or fire trucks with lights flashing. The rule now reaches any stopped vehicle showing hazard lights, flares, cones, or other warning signals. Picture it, you're cruising in the right lane, you see a car pulled over ahead with its blinkers ticking like a metronome, and you think, they're fine, I'll just pass. That's exactly the moment this law is meant to catch, because from an officer's perspective, that shoulder isn't empty space, it's a danger zone where a driver, passenger, tow operator, or even a stranded family could step out at any second. Here's what police are looking for in real life: no lane change when it's safe, and no obvious slowdown when a lane change isn't possible. The key word is safe. You're not expected to swerve recklessly, but you are expected to react. And it happens fast. In the time it takes you to glance at your mirrors, a normal highway speed can turn into a near miss. Studies on roadside incidents consistently show that higher passing speeds and close proximity dramatically increase the risk for people outside the vehicle, especially tow operators and stranded motorists. That's why enforcement focuses on what your car does, not what you meant. If you blast by at full speed, it looks like you ignored the danger. So here's the simple habit that saves you. The moment you see hazards or a stopped vehicle on the shoulder, treat it like a mini emergency scene. Signal early, check your mirrors, and move over one lane if it's open. If traffic blocks you, then slow down clearly, not a tiny tap on the brakes, but a noticeable drop that creates space. And don't wait until you're right on top of the car. Start reacting several seconds earlier so it looks deliberate, not last-second panic. In March 2026, this is one of the easiest stops to avoid, if you train your brain to respond the instant those hazard lights appear. Number 2, red light cameras are back in a bigger way, and this time, the scary part isn't just the ticket, it's how quietly it can happen. In some California cities and counties, red light enforcement is expanding through newer automated camera programs, meaning an intersection can watch your decision even when no officer is sitting nearby. That changes driver behavior overnight, because the old mindset, if I don't see a cop, I'm fine, doesn't work anymore. These systems don't get distracted, don't look away, and don't care if you only rolled a little. They capture what happened, and weeks later a notice can show up like a time-delayed punch to the wallet. And yes, this is exactly why police are paying more attention to intersections right now. Cameras plus patrol enforcement is a double net. Here's what gets drivers in trouble most often: the last-second gamble. You see the light turn yellow, your brain does that quick math, I can make it, and your foot gets heavier instead of lighter. The problem is, yellow lights are designed as a warning, not a suggestion. If your front wheels cross the limit line after the light is red, that's where the violation happens. Another common trap is the California stop at a red light before turning, rolling without a complete stop, especially on a right turn. Cameras and officers both look for that same thing. Did you fully stop behind the line, and did you wait for a safe gap before turning? That tiny pause, one full second, can be the difference between clean and caught. So how do you protect yourself starting today? First, treat stale greens like a countdown. When you see a green that's been green for a while, expect it to change and ease off early. Second, on a yellow, use one rule: if you can stop smoothly without slamming brakes, stop, don't speed up to beat it. Third, for right turns on red, make it dramatic. Complete stop, look left right left, then go. And one more thing people don't realize, keep your plate clear and readable, because cameras rely on that, and anything that makes your plate look blurry can attract extra attention. Next up is the rule tied directly to that, the one that can hit you with a $1,000 surprise. Number 3, ghost plates can cost you up to $1,000, and this is one of those rules people break while thinking they're being smart. You've probably seen it, a license plate cover that looks lightly smoked, glossy, or reflective. the kind that claims it protects your plate from dirt, sun damage, and scratches. Sounds harmless, right? But in California, anything designed to obscure, distort, or interfere with reading your plate, especially by cameras, has become a major target. And here's the drama. You might not even notice your plate is hard to read until you're already pulled over, with an officer standing behind your car, staring at it like it's a crime scene clue. What police are watching for is simple: plates that look dim, glared out, washed, or mysteriously unreadable at certain angles, especially under headlights at night. That includes tinted covers, reflective sprays, and any add-on that makes letters or registration stickers harder to see. Even if your reason is innocent, "I bought it at an auto store," or "it came like that when I bought the car," it may not matter in the moment. Officers also know these covers are often used to dodge toll cameras, red light cameras, and automated enforcement. So if your plate looks even a little suspicious, you've basically put a blinking sign on your trunk that says "take a closer look." And once you're stopped, that can lead to more scrutiny: registration, insurance, tint, seatbelts, everything. Here's how to avoid this completely. Remove any plate cover that's tinted, reflective, or darkened, no matter how light it looks. If you want protection, use a clear cover that doesn't cause glare, and test it yourself at night. Stand behind your car with headlights shining on the plate and see if it's still crisp. Also, keep your plate clean. Mud, dust, and peeling registration stickers can make your plate look questionable from far away. This rule is a perfect example of small thing, big consequence. Because in March 2026, officers aren't just watching how you drive, they're watching what your car is hiding, or what it looks like it's hiding. Number 4, DUI rules got stricter. Ignition interlock isn't temporary anymore. A lot of drivers still think an ignition interlock device, an IID, is some rare punishment that only happens in extreme cases. But California has kept this program going, and the big shift is what it means emotionally and financially. If you get hit with the right kind of DUI case, this can follow you for a long time, turning your own car into a daily checkpoint. Picture the routine. You're already stressed, you're late for work, you hop in, turn the key, and your car won't start until you blow into a device. It's not just inconvenient, it's a constant reminder that one night turned into months of restrictions. Here's what police are watching for in real life: people driving when they're not allowed to, or driving a vehicle that doesn't match the restriction terms. Because once your driving privilege is limited, you're on a tighter leash. Any slip can bring bigger consequences. And it's not only about getting pulled over for something dramatic. Sometimes it starts with something small: a broken tail light, a rolling stop, a plate issue. Then the officer checks your status, and suddenly the stop becomes a license compliance situation. That's why this rule matters even if you're thinking, "I'll just be extra careful." When your license has conditions, the margin for error shrinks. So the practical takeaway is this: if you, or someone in your household, falls under an IID requirement, treat it like a system, not a nuisance. Keep proof of compliance in the car. Understand exactly when you can drive, what vehicle you can drive, and what happens if you miss a required step. If you share cars in a family, get crystal clear on who is allowed to drive what, because mixing this up can cause huge headaches fast. And for everyone else watching, let this be your reminder that DUI enforcement isn't just about the night you get stopped. The consequences can echo into your everyday life: morning errands, school drop-offs, work commutes, over and over again. Next up is a rule that shows California is getting tougher not only on DUIs, but on what happens after the worst-case scenario. Before you go, drop a comment with rule #__got me and tell me your city. I'm reading every one, and I'll reply with what drivers there should watch for. And if you want even more ways to avoid tickets, go watch my previous video next. It's the perfect follow-up to this one. We put a lot of effort into making these videos simple, accurate, and useful, so please support us by hitting subscribe. It's just one click. Number 5, harsher consequences after the worst-case scenario. This one is heavy, but it matters because it shows where California enforcement is headed in 2026. If impaired driving leads to a fatal crash, the legal system is pushing for longer accountability. California increased the length of probation for certain convictions involving vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, meaning the consequences don't just end after a court date or even after the initial sentence. Probation isn't a slap on the wrist. It can come with strict terms, constant check-ins, travel limits, alcohol restrictions, and the risk that one mistake triggers bigger penalties. In other words, the state is making sure these cases stay alive longer in a person's life. So what are police watching for on the road? This isn't a rule that changes how you signal or park, it changes the climate of enforcement. When the law increases punishment in the background, it usually comes with a stronger message up front. Impaired driving is treated as a top-tier threat, not just a traffic issue. That's why you're seeing more attention on behaviors that suggest impairment, even before a driver looks drunk. Drifting within the lane, inconsistent speed, braking too late, wide turns, missing signals, stopping too far past the line, these are the little clues that can trigger a stop. And once an officer suspects impairment, the situation escalates fast. The scary truth is that many drivers don't feel impaired, but their reaction time and judgment are already worse, especially at night, when fatigue and alcohol combine like a fog over your brain. Here's the practical takeaway for everyone watching. In simple terms, build a no-risk rule for yourself before you go out. If you're drinking, plan the ride first, ride share, designated driver, or stay put. If you're tired, don't try to power through with loud music and cold air. Those tricks don't restore decision-making, they just keep you awake enough to make bad calls. And if you're hosting, be the friend who takes keys seriously. Because after a crash, nobody remembers the jokes, they remember the absence. This isn't about fear for fear's sake, it's about how quickly a normal night can become irreversible. Next up is something you might not expect in a new rules list, a change that affects how you interact with self-driving cars on California roads. Number 6. Self-driving cars now have "I'm driving myself" signals, and if you haven't noticed them yet, that's exactly why this rule matters. California is allowing certain autonomous vehicles to use special marker lights that indicate the car's self-driving system is actively engaged. Think of it like a quiet announcement in traffic: this vehicle is in robot mode. Sounds futuristic, but on the road, it changes human behavior fast. Some drivers get curious and creep closer. Others get impatient and cut in. And a few treat it like a challenge, speeding around it just to prove a point. That's the danger. Because when a self-driving car is being extra cautious, your aggressive move can create the exact situation police investigate later. Here's what officers, and crash reports, focus on: who made the unpredictable move. Autonomous vehicles tend to follow rules in a very by-the-book way: slower starts, longer following distances, more conservative merges, wider turns, and cautious stops. That can look annoying to a human driver in a rush. But if you tailgate an AV, weave around it, or jump into its gap, you're the one creating risk. And if there's a near miss or collision, those vehicles often have detailed data, meaning the story isn't just he said, she said. The marker lights are basically a reminder that you may be dealing with a car that's going to behave predictably, while humans around it do the opposite. So what's the practical habit in March 2026? When you see those marker lights, or you suspect a car is operating autonomously, give it a little extra respect and space. Don't crowd its bumper. Don't force a merge into its safety gap. If it hesitates, assume it's detecting something you don't see yet: a pedestrian near a crosswalk, a cyclist in the blind spot, or a confusing lane shift up ahead. The smartest move is also the simplest: treat it like a cautious new driver you can't communicate with. Because the goal isn't to win the lane, it's to get home without your day ending with flashing lights, paperwork, and that sick feeling in your stomach. Next up is a rule that's catching people off guard, especially parents, because it involves a vehicle many think is just an e-bike. Number 7. The e-moto trap: when your e-bike isn't an e-bike anymore. This one is sneaky because it starts with excitement. You see a sleek electric ride online, it looks fun, quiet, and not that serious, and the ads practically whisper, no gas, no hassle. But in California, certain off-highway electric motorcycles, often called e-motos, are now officially treated like off-highway vehicles, OHVs. That means you can't just ride them anywhere like a typical bicycle or standard low-power e-bike. And in March 2026, this is exactly the kind of stop that feels unfair to the rider, because a lot of people genuinely don't know what they bought. Here's what police are watching for: a bike that looks like a small dirt bike, thicker tires, motorcycle-style frame, higher speed, and the kind of power that doesn't match normal e-bike limits. If it's classified as an off-highway electric motorcycle, it may need a DMV-issued ID plate or placard, and it has to follow OHV rules about where it can be operated. The big problem is what happens in real life. Someone rides it on a street, sidewalk, or bike path thinking, it's electric, it's fine. Then an officer spots it and starts asking questions you're not prepared for: classification, identification, where it's allowed, and whether it's properly marked. Even worse, kids and teens are often the ones riding these, which can turn a fun weekend into a stressful situation for the whole family. So here's the practical move: before you ride, or before you buy, figure out what it legally is. Don't rely on the product name or the seller's wording. Look at the power and design. If it behaves like a small motorcycle, treat it like one until proven otherwise. If it's an e-moto OHV category vehicle, get the proper DMV identification, and only ride it in places where OHVs are allowed. And if you're a parent, make this a quick family check-in. Where are you riding this, and is it legal there? Because the goal isn't to ruin the fun, it's to avoid that moment where your kid is standing on the curb, confused and embarrassed, while an officer explains a rule you never even knew existed. Next up is a quieter change that can still save you a ton of headaches during a traffic stop: your driver's license address. Number 8, address change? Now you can get a fresh duplicate license. This rule sounds boring, until you're the one sitting on the side of the road, heart thumping, while an officer looks at your license and says, "So, you don't live here anymore." In March 2026, California is making it easier to request a duplicate driver's license after you change your address. That matters because most people move, update things online, and then keep carrying an old card for months, or years. And even if that's not automatically illegal, it can make a simple traffic stop feel suspicious. It creates that awkward gap between what your ID shows and what you're saying out loud. And when things don't match, it can slow everything down: verification, paperwork, and sometimes the officer's patience. Here's what police are watching for in real life: inconsistent information. If your address doesn't match your current registration, insurance, or what you tell the officer, it can raise extra questions, especially if you're in a different city, driving late, or your car has other attention grabbers like tinted windows or a covered plate. Even everyday situations can turn into a headache. You get pulled over, you reach for your insurance, the policy shows one address, your license shows another, and now the officer is doing a mental checklist: is this person avoiding something? Again, most people aren't. They're just busy. But traffic stops aren't designed for busy life explanations. They're designed for quick proof and clear records. So here's the simple, practical move. The moment you change your address, don't just update it, replace the card so it matches. Keep your documents consistent. License, registration, and insurance should all point to the same current info. If you've already moved and haven't updated anything, set one small DMV day reminder and get it done, because it prevents a chain reaction of annoying problems later. And if you're traveling a lot or commuting across counties, a clean, accurate ID makes stops faster and less stressful. Next up is a rule that affects a very specific group of drivers, but when it hits hard: abandoned RV enforcement in certain counties. Number 9, abandoned RVs can be removed faster in certain counties. If you drive an RV, or even park one on your street, this rule can feel like it came out of nowhere. In parts of California, especially places like Los Angeles County and Alameda County, authorities now have expanded ability to remove certain abandoned RVs faster under specific conditions. And here's the part that makes people nervous: what you call parked for a while, the city may treat as abandoned, especially if it looks broken down, unmoved, or unsafe. By March 2026, enforcement is becoming more visible, because RV complaints stack up fast. Neighbors report, officers check, tags get noted, and the process can start moving before you realize your vehicle is on a clock. So what are police and enforcement teams actually watching for? The biggest triggers are simple and visual: RVs that appear unregistered, flat-tired, non-operational, or stuck in the same spot long enough to look like they're living there permanently or creating a hazard. If an RV is blocking street cleaning, creating visibility issues, leaking fluids, or piling up trash around it, it draws attention quickly. And once attention is on it, they'll start documenting location, time, condition, and any visible violations. The scary part is how quickly small issues pile up. Expired registration plus broken windows plus a complaint can turn into towing and fees that cost far more than the original problem. Here's how you protect yourself with a few practical habits. First, keep your RV registered and current. Expired tags are a magnet for enforcement. Second, make it look clearly maintained and active. Move it legally when required, avoid leaving it in one spot for long stretches, and fix obvious abandoned signals like flat tires or missing plates. Third, don't ignore warnings. If you see a notice, handle it immediately, because towing and storage fees can explode fast. Even if you're not doing anything shady, you don't want to look abandoned in the wrong area at the wrong time. Next up is a rule that actually helps drivers, because it can reduce the pain of parking tickets if money is tight. Number 10. Parking tickets just got a relief option, if you ask for it. Most people treat parking tickets like a slow poison: annoying at first, then ignored, and later it grows into something much worse. One ticket becomes 2, then late fees stack up, then you're suddenly staring at a number that feels impossible. That's why this 2026 change matters, because in California, many local governments can now offer more options to reduce or waive parking penalties for people who truly can't afford them, and they may be required to provide payment plans if you request one. In other words, the system is slowly shifting from pay it all or suffer to pay what you can, before it gets ugly. But here's the catch, it doesn't help you if you never ask. So what are police and enforcement actually watching? They are watching outcomes. Unpaid parking debt can trigger bigger consequences like holds, collections, and in some cases towing or booting, depending on local rules. A lot of drivers don't realize that parking enforcement and traffic enforcement connect through records. It's not always a direct "you didn't pay, so you're pulled over," but unpaid issues can create messy surprises. You go to renew registration, you get blocked. You park again, you get targeted. You rack up penalties so high it feels like punishment for being broke. This is why the smart move isn't avoid tickets forever, good luck, it's don't let one ticket snowball into 5. Here's the practical play you can use immediately. If you get a parking ticket and the amount is genuinely too much, contact the agency listed on the ticket and ask about ability to pay relief and a payment plan. Do it early, before late fees hit. Keep screenshots, confirmation numbers, and emails so you have proof you tried to resolve it. And if you can pay quickly to avoid multipliers. This rule is one of the few on this list that can actually work in your favor, if you use it like a tool instead of hoping the problem disappears. Now that you've got all 10 new rules, let's wrap this up with the fastest recap, and the one habit that will keep you out of trouble almost everywhere you drive. So here's the big picture for March 2026. California isn't just cracking down on bad driving anymore, it's watching the small choices that drivers make every day. A quick pass by a car with hazards. A lazy roll at a red light. A license plate cover you forgot was even there. A move you think is normal, but the law now sees as risky. And that's why these rules matter. They aren't designed for the drivers who already expect trouble, they're catching the people who believe, "I'm a safe driver, so I'm fine." Because being safe today also means being updated. Now make this practical. Pick just 2 habits to start using immediately. First, when you see any stopped vehicle with hazards, slow down and move over like it's an emergency scene. Second, do a quick no-ticket check this week. Look at your plate, make sure it's clear, readable, and not covered. Review your intersection habits, and confirm your documents are up to date, especially your address. Small fixes, big protection. And if you have an RV or an electric bike style ride, double-check the rules in your county, because those are the situations where people get blindsided. If this video saved you even one stop or one ticket, help other drivers out. Hit like, subscribe, and comment CA plus your city, like CA Los Angeles or CA San Jose, and I'll pin the most important local tips. And if you want a part 2, tell me which one shocked you most, the $1,000 plate rule, the hazard lights rule, or the red light cameras. This video is general information, not legal advice. Laws can vary by city and change over time. If you're dealing with a ticket, consider speaking with a qualified professional.